What is up, guys? It's Falafel92, and today is Star Trek Saturday, and we're going to be covering the original 6 Star Trek movies, the entirety of the original series, and the Captain Summit documentary. So let's get started. Me personally, I know that the original series has not aged well, and particularly the third and final season. It is blatantly obvious that the episodes in that season suck. It's just a fact. But season one's the Menegre, which, depending on your mood, you'll either say that it's actually a single episode and not a two-part episode, or you say that it's a two-part episode. But me, I like that it covers the legality of, Spock's actions. That's something I enjoyed very much. And also, it also shows the cage, which is the unaired pilot of what was supposed to be the show. They ended up putting on the chopping block, and so that's why you didn't see it for a full 20 years after. A piece of the action from season 2 was another personal favorite of mine. That I enjoyed it as well. And so pretty much every other episode of seasons 1 and 2 were mediocre or at least watchable for its time period. With season 3, obviously had a pretty mediocre to not good episodes, with, stuff like Spock's brain being just meh. But see, Spectre of the Gun, which was episode 5, I absolutely loved it. And I also would say the Enterprise incident, which was episode 2, I enjoyed it just as much. But yeah, those are probably my 2 picks for season 3. And ultimately, that's just my attitude on the whole show, is that there's a few standout episodes to me, but otherwise, they're all pretty mediocre for the most part. They're watchable, with the third and final season just being okay at best. But yeah. And so now we're going to get into the Star Trek The Captain's Summit documentary. I mean, it's watchable. I enjoy that you get to see some cast members from both the Next Generation and the original cast. That's pretty cool, but I feel like just watching 5 different people talk over each other is just, it gets kind of boring watching that for an entire 70 minutes. That's not exactly fun for me, but that's just me. But it was also my first time watching it, so yeah. And now we're gonna get into the main movies. Star Trek 1, the motion picture, is just... I know a lot of people will say that Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, is bad, but Star Trek 1, the motion picture, is terrible. It's not good. It's just a fact. I sat there the first time I watched it, I was just bored out of my mind. It was just so slow paced for me. And we'll get to Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, in a minute. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, easily one of the best movies of all time. It's just a really great film for me. Same thing with Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, I mean, it's a pretty nice wrap-up from Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and The Search for Spock. But honestly, I feel sometimes I feel like it's a great film and pretty enjoyable. Other times I'm like, Undiscovered Country was a better movie, but that's just me. I still enjoy it. So yeah. And Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, guess what? I know a lot of people rip on Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, but me personally, I would rather take The Final Frontier over the motion picture. Granted, that's saying something. Guess what? They're both bad. They're just really horrendous films, and they're just bad, and they're an embarrassment to Star Trek. They're just not good. And Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. I think it's a pretty nice wrap-up for the original cast, given that all but 3 cast members are still alive, being William Shatner, Walter Koenig, and George Takei, with Nichelle Nichols just dying a few months ago, so yeah. But yeah, it's just... Ultimately, my ranking of the series is, for the movies, I have to go 2, 3, 6, interchangeable with 4, 4, interchangeable with 6, 5, 1. That's how I look at Star Trek. Yeah, and so regarding the show, I have to say season 1, 2, 3. That is just my ranking for both the movies and the TV show as well. So yeah, this has been Star Trek Saturday.